That moment often arrives so gently. A glance, a question that drifts in like a breeze, a conversation that seems random, two strangers exchanging a few words, and then you walk away from it with a polite smile, thinking, "She seemed nice," while she turns and walks off with a soft sigh in her heart. I guess he's not interested. It's not because you lack sensitivity, not because you're any less attractive, and certainly not because you're too old to be noticed. It's simply because you didn't see it. The signs aren't as obvious as they were in your 20s. Women your age won't giggle and brush your arm anymore. They won't ask, "Do you like me?" or invite you to dinner outright. Instead, they'll ask a simple question, something that sounds casual, maybe even a little random. But that question is a door, a gentle invitation. And if you don't walk through it, that door quietly closes, as if it was never open to begin with. This happens far more often than you might think. And the saddest part? You did nothing wrong. You just didn't do the right thing. Not because you didn't have a chance, but because you didn't realize that chance was standing right there in front of you. This video is about those moments, the soft signals, the questions that don't sound flirtatious, but are in fact thoughtful invitations from a woman who's testing the waters. She doesn't want to jump into an emotional pool alone. She needs to know you're standing there too, ready, grounded, present. And I'm going to walk you through 8 such questions. 8 subtle ways older women reach out when they feel something, but aren't yet sure enough to say it outright. You'll learn what these questions are really asking, why they matter, and most importantly, how to respond in a way that shows you're still here, present, steady, and completely yourself. Not chasing, not retreating, just standing with her right where you need to be. And before we step into the first question, innocent, playful, but perhaps the most delicate test she'll ever give you. If you've ever lived through a moment like this, leave a comment below saying, "I once missed the moment when she tried to open the door." That's your way of reminding yourself, next time, don't let that door close in silence. And if you feel this message is worth sharing, hit the like button and send this video to a friend. Because 97% of men over 50 don't recognize the quiet moments when a woman is turning on the green light. Don't be one of them. 1. How old are you really? It may sound like teasing, like a passing comment, but if a woman looks you in the eyes and asks, "How old are you really?" It's not a joke. It's not small talk. It's a much deeper invitation than you might realize. She doesn't need your birth certificate. She knows you weren't born in 1980. That question isn't about guessing your age. It's about feeling your truth, sensing how you carry your years. Are you hiding from them? Or do you wear them like a medal? Your answer will determine everything. If you dodge the question, chuckle awkwardly, or make a self-deprecating joke, she might smile, she might nod politely. But somewhere in her gaze, the warmth will quietly step back. Because what she's looking for isn't youth. It's a man who is fully alive in his own skin. A man who isn't ashamed of the years he's lived, but knows how to stand firm within them. The most attractive men after 60 aren't the ones trying to dress like they're 30. They don't dye their hair to impress. They walk into a room with a calm presence, eyes that hold depth, and say simple, honest things like, "I'm old enough to know what matters, and still young enough to enjoy every bit of it." I remember Henry, 65 years old, retired after more than 3 decades as a structural engineer. He lives on the Oregon coast, loves classical music, and always carries a book in his coat pocket. One morning, he told me about an unexpected conversation he had with a woman at a small cafe where he often reads. She was around 50, intelligent eyes, a voice that carried wisdom. They talked about the weather, books, old symphonies. Then she asked, almost like a whisper, "Really though, how old are you?" Henry, thinking he was being playful, chuckled and said, "Older than you think, and probably older than you're looking for." She smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that opens a new chapter. It was a smile that gently closed the door. Henry told me he felt the shift in the air the moment he said that. That evening, as he closed his book, he realized it wasn't just a question he had brushed off. It was a door he hadn't walked through. This is something many men don't realize. that questions like these aren't tests, they're soft invitations. And if you respond with insecurity or with that familiar dodge, she'll understand that you're no longer fully present in your own life. You see, the older we get, the more we carry. Failures, scars, silent fears that we're no longer seen. But women, especially women who've walked through pain, can feel that deeply. When they ask about your age, what they're really asking is, are you still alive inside or just existing? So next time a woman asks, how old are you really? Don't brush it off. Don't laugh it away. Let her see that you're still living, not as a man who's growing old, but as a man who has walked through life without losing the light in his eyes. Because if she asks, it means she's giving herself permission to hope, and your answer might just become her answer too. 2. Why aren't you married? At first, it might sound a little too personal, maybe even a bit judgmental. But if a woman asks you that question, with soft eyes, a gentle voice, and a touch of genuine curiosity, know this. She's not interrogating you. She's wondering if your heart still has room. She's not asking for your full romantic history. She doesn't need the whole story about your ex, your past marriage, or the wounds that never quite healed. What she really wants to know is, today, in the life you've lived, is there still space for someone like me? And this is where many good men stumble. Some launch into every detail, divorces, regrets, missed chances. Others shut it down with a dry chuckle. Marriage? Tried it once, not going back. Both types of answers, whether honest or defensive, quietly close the door she just tried to open. Because what she's looking for isn't details, it's a feeling. She's not just listening to your words, she's listening to how you say them. Are you at peace with your past? Or are you still dragging it behind you like an old suitcase that's never been unpacked? The best answers aren't dramatic. They're not heavy. They're real, but light, sincere, but not sorrowful. Something like, life kept moving fast, but now I have time for something more real. Or, maybe I just hadn't met the right woman until now. I think of Lawrence, 67, living in the suburbs outside Chicago. A quiet man with calloused hands, he spent his life fixing machines. His wife passed away when they were still young. One spring afternoon, he was tending to his vegetables in the community garden, like he always did. A woman, maybe 55, with bright eyes and a soft-spoken voice, came over to chat about tomatoes, the weather, little things. Then she asked, almost out of the blue, "How is someone like you still not married?" Lawrence froze. Caught off guard, he mumbled something vague about things not working out, then quickly changed the subject. The following week, she didn't return. Much later, he told me, "I thought she was just making conversation. But really, I think she was wondering if there might be something between us." You see, these moments don't arrive with drum rolls or spotlight. They come quietly, wrapped in questions that seem harmless. And by the time you understand what they really meant, she's already gone. Emotionally, women at this age, just like us, carry fears. Fear of rejection, fear of being the only one feeling something. So they don't say it directly. They ask sideways, softly, and wait. Is this the kind of man I can safely step closer to? If your answer tastes bitter, or if the door to your heart is still locked, she'll retreat. But if your voice is calm, your eyes don't flinch, and there's a hint of warmth, like a man who's sorted through his memories and made space for something new, that speaks louder than any love song. So next time someone asks, "Why aren't you married?" don't make her regret asking. Give her a reason to wonder. Could this be the start of something? 3. Do you date younger women? This question has a way of making some men freeze, some blush, unsure how to answer. Others laugh, thinking it's a disguised compliment. But in truth, this isn't a question about your dating history. She doesn't want a list of your past dates with women in their 30s, and she certainly doesn't want to be compared to anyone you remember fondly. She's gently trying to find out, can you see her as a real woman? More than a friend, more than just a polite acquaintance. She's not asking for a simple yes or no. What she's really looking for is a feeling that you see her, not through the lens of age, not labeled as too old or less attractive, but as a human being, standing in front of you, here now, opening a door that might lead somewhere beyond small talk. And this is where many men unknowingly shut that door. Some puff up with pride and say, "I've dated women in their 30s, even mid-30s, as if they're listing trophies." Others shrink away and reply, "I'm too old. You deserve someone younger." Both answers, though opposite, quietly cause the door she opened to close again. Because what she's really asking is, do I stand a chance? And the kind of answer that opens her heart doesn't come from calculation. It comes from connection. Something like, I don't date by age. I care about energy and how it feels to be around someone. Or, what matters to me is how she makes me feel, not the number on her birth certificate. I remember the story of James, 59, living in Portland, a well-dressed man with a love for books, espresso, and quiet elegance. Like someone who treats life itself as a companion. One day, while browsing a local bookstore, a woman in her mid-40s approached him. Intelligent eyes, a soft but sharp presence, asking for a memoir recommendation. They shared a few laughs, some favorite authors, and then wandered across the street to a cozy cafe. As they sipped their espresso, she tilted her head and asked, "Do you often date younger women?" James didn't flinch. He looked up, paused thoughtfully, and replied, "I value people who make me feel alive. Age doesn't dictate that. Maybe it's their presence that I truly notice." She didn't just smile. Her whole expression changed, from casual curiosity to genuine interest. That coffee became dinner, and that dinner unfolded into something far from fleeting. That's the power of presence, of a man who stays steady when faced with a question that seems simple, but carries unspoken meaning. Because really, when a woman asks this, the issue isn't age, it's permission. She's wondering if she can dream, without being dismissed. She doesn't want to lay her heart bare if you've already shut the door. She just wants to know, are you willing to meet me halfway? At this age, attraction isn't a game of clever lines. There are no tricks needed, just one answer. Clear, warm, with a spark that keeps the door gently open. So if one day she asks, "Do you date younger women?" remember, what she's truly asking is, "Do I still have a chance in your eyes?" 4. What kind of woman do you usually go for? It sounds like small talk, a casual question meant to fill the space. But if she asks you that, in the middle of a quiet conversation, her eyes resting on you, her voice slightly hesitant yet genuinely curious, understand this. She's not just being inquisitive. She's silently wondering whether she could be your kind of woman. She doesn't want a checklist like you're ordering off a menu. Tall, brunette, likes golf, must be able to cook. Men often slip up here by being too honest and not nearly aware enough. They rattle off physical features, hobbies, or preferences as if they're shopping, unaware that she's not focused on what you say, but how you say it. Because this question is actually a subtle filter. She's really asking, do I have a chance? She wants to know whether you're still stuck on some outdated fantasy, an old image that doesn't reflect real connection anymore, or if you've grown into someone deep enough, open enough, mature enough to look past appearances and into soul. And if you can answer from a place of presence, not performance, you create a safe space where attraction can quietly take root. You might say something like, I like someone who pays attention to small things, someone curious who can still laugh even when the day hasn't been kind, or simply, the kind of woman who makes the room feel calmer just by being in it, like her presence is already a gift. I think of a man named Walter, 62, a retired long-haul truck driver now living near the Colorado mountains. During a weekend of volunteering to repaint the local community center, he met a woman, around 50, hair tied back, with eyes that always seemed to be smiling. They painted side by side, chatting in bits and pieces about old music, solo dinners, and winter nights that felt longer than they used to. As they worked together, she tilted her head and asked, "So what kind of women do you usually find yourself drawn to?" Walter didn't overthink it. He smiled gently and replied, "Someone who makes the space feel lighter, calmer, like you're doing right now." She didn't say much, But after the project wrapped up, she offered to stay and help clean. When he thanked her, she gave a quiet smile and said, "I was hoping I'd be the kind of woman you meant." And that's what you need to understand. These moments don't require you to be charming or poetic. They just ask you to be fully present. No performance, no pretending, so she can feel seen. From a psychological perspective, this is a gentle form of self-check that many women use. If I ask this, and his answer describes someone nothing like me, I'll know to quietly step back. But if your response touches something inside her, if it makes her feel reflected, then attraction no longer needs words. So the next time someone asks, "What kind of woman do you usually go for?" Don't describe the woman you dreamed about in your youth. Describe the connection you want to build today, because in that moment, she might be hoping that she's exactly that. 5. Do you ever feel lonely? It sounds simple, but it's one of the deepest, bravest questions a woman can ask a man after 60, because it's not just curiosity, it's a halfway confession. She's not asking to make conversation. She's not asking for you to brush it off with a quick reply. When a woman asks, "Do you ever feel lonely?" what she's really wondering is, am I the only one who feels the silence in a house full of ticking clocks, but missing someone's laughter? Most men, especially after retirement, after divorce, or after losing a partner, become familiar with silence. They're used to eating alone, watching TV alone, reading the morning paper with 1 cup of coffee instead of 2, but they rarely call it loneliness. They call it freedom or peace. And what they may not realize is that when a woman hears those words, they can feel like a wall going up. That question, if you truly listen, isn't about whether you're happy. It's really asking, is your door still open? Is someone welcome to walk through it? And this is where your answer can change everything. If you shrink back and say something like, "I'm used to it," she'll hear the door closing. If you joke, "Being alone has its perks. No one nags me anymore," she'll understand. You're not ready for anyone to come in. But if you pause for just a second, meet her gaze and answer gently, "Most days I'm fine, but some nights I wish someone was there, so I didn't have to turn on the TV just to fill the silence." Or, "Loneliness isn't always bad. It only gets scary when there's no one close enough to understand it." You'll see something shift in her. Not in her smile, but in her eyes. Because in that moment, she knows you're still capable of feeling, still longing for someone to share the quiet with. Not to fix it, just to sit beside it. I think of Franklin, 70 years old, a retired literature teacher. He lost his wife after 38 years of marriage. One afternoon at the local library, he met Karen, a widow living alone. After a few short chats by the bookshelves, one day she asked softly, "Frank, do you ever feel lonely?" He looked her in the eyes and said, "I used to think I didn't, until I realized I kept rereading the same old poem, because there was no one new to share it with." They didn't kiss that day. They didn't hold hands. But from that Wednesday on, they sat together at the library, sometimes reading, sometimes just being quiet, and neither of them called it loneliness anymore. Women don't need you to be strong all the time. They just want to know. If they show up, is there space for them? And when she asks, "Do you ever feel lonely?" that's her gentlest way of saying, "I'm willing to stay if you need me." 6. Why don't you have a girlfriend? It sounds simple, just another throwaway question over coffee. But if you really listen deeply, you'll realize this may be one of the clearest signs that she's not just making conversation, she's paying attention. When a woman asks you, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" she's not really curious about the reasons. What she's truly wondering is there still space in your life and in your heart that someone like me could step into without feeling out of place? The problem is, many men, without meaning to, respond in a way that quietly closes the door. Some shrug and say, "I've gotten used to being alone." Some joke, "I like my freedom, no strings attached." Others, even worse, or scoff, "Love at this age? Too complicated, not worth it." And what they don't realize is, they've just sent a signal. I've shut the door. I'm no longer interested. But in truth, when a woman asks that question, she's not just asking if you're single. She's asking, do you still believe in closeness, in connection, in love, or have you locked that part of yourself away for good? And if the truth is that you still hope, still long for something real, then let your answer hold space for belief and maybe a bit of wonder too. You could say, I think I've been waiting for something I haven't quite been able to name yet. Or, I've spent years learning how to live alone. But now, I think I'm ready to live with someone, this time, in a more honest way. I'm reminded of a man named Harold, 71, a retired architect, always well put together, soft-spoken, with steady eyes. One evening at an art gallery while standing before a painting of an empty room, a woman, short hair, long coat, turned to him and asked, "So, you don't have a girlfriend?" Harold didn't laugh. He didn't flinch. He simply tilted his head and replied, "It took me many years to understand what it means to be a good man. I think now, I'm ready for a different kind of love, one that's deeper, more real." And for the rest of the evening, her eyes never left him, because in that moment, she knew he still believed in something. At this age, women carry just as many scars as we do. They've loved, they've lost, they've hoped, and been let down. They're cautious about handing their hearts to someone who might not know how to hold it. So they don't say, "I like you." They ask sideways, "Why don't you have someone in your life?" It sounds light, but it's a courageous knock at your door. And if your answer is warm enough, steady enough, and true, it may be the only thing she needs to take a step closer. So the next time someone asks, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" don't give her a reason to walk away. Give her one to stay just a little longer. 7. Would you ever date someone like me? This is it, almost a confession, wrapped in the gentlest form a woman can offer. No drama, no grand gesture. But if you're truly paying attention, you'll recognize this isn't just a question. It's a brave, very real step forward from her. She's not fishing for compliments. She's not teasing. And she's certainly not flirting to boost her ego. She's putting herself on the line, but not recklessly. She might ask it with a playful tone, maybe even laugh a little afterward, as if to soften the moment. But don't be fooled. Beneath that lightness is a vulnerability she's trying to protect. Because this time, she's not asking about your type. She's asking about herself. It's not a test, not a trick. It's a real moment. And the way you respond will decide whether she feels cherished or ashamed for ever asking. Sadly, many men freeze in this moment. Some play it safe. Maybe. Others deflect, change the subject, pretend they didn't quite hear. And just like that, her eyes pull back. Her smile fades into something polite, not because she wasn't sincere, but because in that silence, she felt alone. So what's the right way to respond? You don't need poetry. You don't need lines. Just say something true, something that lets her feel seen. Try this. "If I got the chance, I think I'd be the lucky one." And then, say nothing more. Let the silence carry the weight of that truth. I remember a man named Raymond, 66, former military, straightforward, not particularly romantic. He had been spending time with Judith, a woman he met through friends. They'd had a few coffees, weekend grocery runs, shared quiet Sunday papers. Nothing rushed, nothing defined. Then one evening under a fading sky, she stopped walking, looked at him, and asked, "Could you ever date someone like me?" Raymond didn't answer right away. He just looked at her, with quiet reflection, and then said softly, "I think I'd be a fool not to." He said nothing else, and she simply reached for his hand. They kept walking, in silence. Because moments like these don't need explaining. They don't need defining. They just need your full presence. From a psychological perspective, this is what we call a final invitation. Not manipulation, but a deep human longing for acceptance. Do I still have the power to make someone feel something real? Women at this age, just like men, aren't chasing fantasies. They just want to know, am I still wanted, still felt, still called by name in someone's emotional world? You don't need to make promises. You don't need to paint a future. You only need to be real, right there in that moment. And if you can say something true, even if it's just one short sentence, she won't remember you as someone who chased her. She'll remember you as the man who made her heart feel alive again. 8. Nonverbal signals. Not every question is spoken. In fact, the clearest signs that a woman is interested in you may never come from her lips at all. They come from the body, posture, eyes, from how she sits just a little closer than necessary, from the way she holds your gaze a moment longer after you finish speaking, from the soft smile she gives when you say something, even if it wasn't particularly funny. These things aren't random. They are clues. Women, especially women with life experience, tend to be far more subtle than most men realize. They've learned how to send signals without saying a word because they know the sting of rejection. And if you're not fully present, you'll miss those invitations, spoken in glances, in gestures, in breath. Did you notice the way she tilted her head when you were talking? The gentle laugh, even when your story didn't have a punchline? Or how she brushed your arm just lightly the moment you shared something sincere? That's when your presence began to mean something. And even if she doesn't say it, she wants you to feel. She feels something too. I think of Bernard, 70 years old, widowed for nearly 12 years. He met a woman named Claire through a weekend film club. At first, it was just group conversations, tea after movies. But slowly, she started choosing the seat beside him. She asked about old films he liked. Sometimes she would smile softly as he spoke, lean in just a bit when he reached for his tea. Bernard thought, she's just being polite. Until one day, she didn't sit beside him anymore. She didn't smile. She stopped asking questions. And only then did he realize what he had thought was courtesy had actually been a series of signals. Signals that ended because the one sending them no longer felt seen. These signs don't stay open forever. They are quiet doors, opening without a sound. And if you don't walk through, they close, just as softly as they came. Biologically, we're wired to sense these things. Eye contact, spatial closeness, mirroring. Your body understands, but sometimes a heart grown too guarded forgets how to trust what it feels, especially after pain, after years of empty spaces. You start to tell yourself, she's just being nice. She's just polite. But what if she's not? What if that look is her way of saying, I see you, and I want to know. Do you still see yourself? At this stage of life, it's no longer about reading people. It's about relearning how to stay in the moment, to look more closely, to feel more deeply, to slow down and hear what's not being said. So here's a small practice for you. Next time you're talking to a woman, don't rush to find the perfect thing to say. Instead, watch her eyes, the tilt of her head, the rhythm of her breath as she listens. And ask yourself, what is she saying when she says nothing at all? Because sometimes the most meaningful signals aren't found in words. They live in the silence, full of hidden intention. Closing, a lesson for the man who once underestimated himself. After everything we've shared today, perhaps now you see it more clearly. At this stage of life, attraction doesn't come from youth, it comes from presence. Women aren't looking for the perfect man. They just want to know, can you still truly see me as a woman? And this video wasn't just about decoding the subtle questions women often ask. It was about giving you something far more practical. The ability to recognize emotional signals in everyday connection. The confidence to stay grounded when someone is genuinely curious about you. And most of all, the courage to open your heart without losing your strength. If you've ever wondered why conversations seem to fade too soon, if you've ever noticed a look in her eyes, like she wanted to say something, but you weren't sure what it meant, then now you've been given a new kind of language, one that listens even when no words are spoken. If this video helped you in any way, please don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. I'm ready to walk through the door. This time, I won't miss it. Your words might be the sign another man out there has been silently waiting for. as he searches to reconnect with himself. And if you'd like to go even deeper into how women quietly show interest, click on the video now appearing on your screen, or choose one of the suggested ones on the right, where we share real stories from real men, just like you. You don't have to become someone else. You only need to learn how to listen to what was never said out loud. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to explore what it means for a man, even after 50, to still stir someone's heart. Take care, and remember, the door only stays closed for those too afraid to knock.